Hello, my dear students. I hope that you are all doing well these days, and I hope and I believe that we will, inshallah, overcome all these hardships as soon as possible and return back to our schools and jobs peacefully and safely. Now, believing in the importance of continuing with the processes of learning and teaching, we resorted to recording lessons online. Therefore, I do recommend that you follow them on the official channel of the schools on YouTube and watch these lessons for your, of course, interest and benefit. Now, today's lesson is going to be about reported speech, the direct and the indirect speech. Now, what is the reported speech, or what do we mean by direct and indirect speech? This is what we are discussing uh, in this lesson, inshallah. Now, in the beginning, it is important for us to list the objectives of the lesson. By the end of this lesson, I expect, and you are expected to define direct and indirect speech, see what we mean with direct speech and indirect speech, also be able to identify the direct and the indirect speeches. I mean, if you see a certain structure of words or statements, you need to, or you will be able to identify whether this statement is direct or indirect, of course, based on certain criteria. And the last objective is that I expect you to be able to change direct speeches to indirect speeches and also the other way around or vice versa. After all, I'm teaching grammar as an everyday life language. Therefore, it's not about actually changing from direct to indirect. It's about using the reported speech, how to report someone's words without quoting their exact words. This is the point. Now, to see first what we mean by direct and indirect speech, I want you to have a look at these two sentences. Um, the first one here, Harry said, I am very tired now. And they are quoted. These words are quoted. And the other sentence says, Harry said that he was very tired then. I want you actually to notice the differences between the above two sentences. Um, both reflect the same idea, both have almost the same meaning, but we have different structures. Um, in both sentences, the original speaker is Harry, as you can see. But in the first sentence, the original speaker is Harry, and he's talking about himself. I am very tired now. He's describing his feeling for the moment. Now, in the other sentence, Harry said that he was very tired then. Here I am reporting his words. I am transferring his words, let's say, to someone else. Therefore, we have certain changes, and the changes appear this way. We have this word that. Um, you can notice that pronouns are different. For example, I is changed into he because being the speaker, I am talking about another person that is Harry. Therefore, I don't use I. We use he. Also, the tense itself. Look at the verb tenses. In the original sentence, it is but actually in the reported sentence, it is was, which brings also a difference in the tense. Even the time expression. In the original sentence, it was now. It refers to the speaker's present time. But in the other sentence, it is then. There you have, or you see a difference in the time expression, because I believe that it is the time of the speech itself is different. Now, why we have these differences, or what do we see based on these differences. The direct speech first. It is important to define what a direct speech is. Direct speech is when the speaker's exact words are used and are quoted between inverted commas, and pay attention, no changes are made. For instance, look at this dialogue. John gasped, "I'm late." These are his words, and they are quoted. "Don't worry," Evie said. "We still have plenty of time for the bus." These are the words of Evie. And then John replies, "Are you sure?" Now, as you can notice, John and Evie are the original speakers of these words, of their own words. And here we have their speeches between inverted commas and using their exact words without any changes. Therefore, we consider John and Evie as the original speeches, or let's say the original speakers of their speeches. And this also takes us to the other part of the comparison, and that is the indirect speech or the reported speech. Now, what is indirect speech? Indirect speech is when the speaker's speech is reported to someone else, but without, and this is important, without quoting his or her exact words. And that's why we do not use inverted commas, and that's also why we need to have or make certain changes to the original speech. For instance, look at these sentences. Peter said, "I am staying in a hotel these days." Now, this is the direct speech. It is Peter's exact words without any changes, and they are between converted commas. Now, what if I want to report his words, but using a different structure? I'm not quoting his exact words. I'm only reporting his ideas. So the sentence becomes, Peter said that he was staying in a hotel those days. Also notice the changes that we include in the sentence. First of all, we omit the converted commas and we replace them, let's say we replace them with the word that. And then we change the pronoun because it's not I speaking. It is it's not Peter speaking in this case. I mean, it is someone else reporting his words. Therefore, we change the pronoun I into he, and also the tense of the verb is changed. Am staying present continuous. It turns to be was staying past continuous. And because of the change of the tense, it is also important to change the time expression. These days is changed into those days. Now, this is the reported statement, and this is the direct statement. This is the indirect speech, and this is the direct speech. So, we need to notice the different changes we have, or let's list them or summarize them into points and then come into discussing them in detail later. First of all, the inverted commas, as we said, are not used, they are omitted. Personal pronouns are changed, like I changes into he. And later on, we will see how other pronouns change. Also, the tenses change from present here to past. Of course, this does not apply to only present continuous. It is applied to all different tenses. And also, we will come to this in a minute, how tenses are changed. And because of the change in the tense, there must be a change in the time expression as well. It is modified to fit, let's say, the tense we have. We cannot use present time expressions with past tenses, for instance. Therefore, we need to pay attention to this point. Usually we use the word that in the beginning. It is added after the reporting verb, but you can, or let's say that this thing is more optional. Uh, you have the freedom to use it or omit it. It is up to you. It's not something obligatory to do. Now, reporting verb. This is the reporting verb said. Later on in another class, inshallah, in another lesson, I will tell you about the different reporting verbs we might use. We might say, Peter said, Peter claimed, Peter stated, Peter, let's say, told me, or Peter ordered, or Peter asked, and so on and so forth. Different reporting verbs, and each reporting verb has a special use in a way. Should be used in a special also context. Like if I say that Peter admitted, then the coming sentence should be around or should be within the context of giving an admission, a confess, let's say. Anyway, we'll come to this later, inshallah. But now we are focusing on the main points that we need to go for or focus on when it comes to reporting speeches. Now, let's have a brief practice. Mr. West said, I am very tired. Now, what is the structure of this sentence? Is it a direct or indirect? Of course, it is a direct speech. Now, I wanted to think of the following sentence. He says that he was glad to be there that evening. Now, think, what is this sentence? Is it a direct or an indirect speech? Of course, it is an indirect speech. Now, how we can tell? First of all, inverted commas are not there. That is there. And he says that he was, it seems that the speaker of this statement is different from the speaker of the original statement. Therefore, it is an indirect speech. Now, going for the third sentence, she said to him, inverted commas, I called you up, but you didn't answer an hour ago. The pronoun I tells us that it refers to she. Therefore, she is the speaker here. She's the original speaker and she is the speaker of this sentence. And here we have her own exact words. Therefore, of course, it is a direct speech. Let's move to 4. Immediately, he said that he had been reading a novel. It is also an indirect speech. Go for 5. David said that he was going to the library then. Again, it is apparent here that I am reporting his words. Therefore, it is considered as an indirect speech. And the last one says, Mom told me, inverted commas, Sarah and Jana were studying together yesterday. Here we are quoting Mom's exact words. Therefore, it is considered as a direct speech. Now, after, let's say, accomplishing the first and the second objectives, now we know what direct speech is, what indirect speech is, and we can tell the difference between them, as well as we can identify if the statement is direct or indirect. Now we need to go for more details, and that is how pronouns change. As I told you previously, the pronouns change when it comes to reporting speeches because you are reporting someone else's words. Therefore, pronouns changes should be made. However, as I always say to my students, you are the master of the situation. In other words, it's not all the time For example, yes, if the sentence begins with I in the direct speech, in the reported, it is changed into she or he because I'm reporting someone else's words. But what if the sentence begins with we, for example? Do we always say they in the reported speech? Well, this is a thing that you as a speaker decide. For instance, let me give you this example. If the sentence says, or let's say John says, we are going, oh sorry, on a trip tomorrow. Let's suppose that this is the sentence. This is the original sentence in a way. And I want to report it. What if I am the one who's reporting this statement, included within or in the group? I am one of those who are going on a trip, and I want to report the sentence to someone else. Do I need to say, John said that is it they or we were going on a trip following day? Now, as I say, being the master of the situation, you decide. Now, if you are included, keep it on we. So you can say, John said that we were going on a trip. If you're not included, if you're not one of the people going on a trip with John, then you can change it then into they. John said that they were going on a trip. So you decide when it comes to changing pronouns, you decide it should be related um, to the context. It should be related to the meaning of the sentence. Uh, we don't only speak of personal pronouns, we also speak of possessive pronouns and demonstrative pronouns. Possessive pronouns like my or your becomes his or her, mine, his or hers, our, their, ours, theirs, and so on and so forth. Also, the demonstrative pronouns like this and these, they should be converted into that if it is this, and those if it is these. Okay. Now, this doesn't only apply to pronouns, as I said, it is also applied to tense or the tenses. The verb tenses are also important here to care for. The tense usually is changed, and why I say usually, actually I will explain this at a later time, inshallah. Just briefly, or let's say, if you use the reporting verb in the present tense, then you do not change the exact words of the speaker. But if you change the reporting verb, into past tense, like said, then the tense is changed. Now, the changes of the tenses go this way. Present simple tense changes into past simple tense, like I want to be a teacher. It becomes she wanted to be a teacher. The present continuous I am going to the cinema, for example, becomes past continuous was going to the cinema. What if the tense is in the past simple? Let's say I worked in Jordan. The past simple tense is changed into past perfect tense, and that is had worked. Present perfect also tenses are changed into past perfect tense. Like I have studied becomes she had studied. Um, what if the sentence includes a modal verb like can, may, must, will, shall, and so on and so forth? All these, if they are in the present form of the modal verb, they are converted into the past form of the modal verb. Like can becomes could, as in the sentence, you can do this job. Sarah could do that job. Or may becomes might. Must, in the past form of it is had to. So even modal verbs change into the past form of them. What if they are in the past form? I mean, in the direct speech, the verb could is used. Then keep it as it is. Could remains could, might remains might, would remains would, and so forth. Now, because of the changes of the tenses, also time expressions and place expressions change as well. For example, if the sentence or the direct speech includes the word ago, like a day ago or a month ago or 2 years ago, in the reported speech they are changed into a month before or 3 days before, and so on and so forth. Today or tonight in the direct speech are changed into that day or that night. These days, excuse me, changed into those days. Yesterday, the day before. Now becomes then. Last month or last year or last uh, uh, week becomes the previous month or the previous year, or we can say the month before or the year before. Next month or next year comes the following month or the following year. Tomorrow, the next or the following day. Beside the next day, I mean, or the following day. Here, when it comes to place expression, it's not here anymore. It becomes there. Okay, let's have a real application. Look at this dialogue. I guess you all know Garfield, and I am in fact one fan of this character. Uh, this is John speaking to Garfield. John says, I accidentally glued a piece of paper to my face. Okay, and it's quite clear here that Garfield took advantage of the situation, drawing on the paper on his face, drawing this big white smile. Okay, now what if I want to report the sentence? The sentence changes as follows. John said that he, because I am now the speaker talking about John. So it's not I anymore, it is he. Now notice the original tense of the sentence above. I accidentally glued. It is in the tense simple past. Now the simple past, as we agreed previously, should be changed into past perfect. So had accidentally glued. A piece of paper to, again, the pronoun is changed from my to his. Now this is this becomes the original, or sorry, the reported speech. Let's have another dialogue. You know Garfield, this is John speaking. Some pets are actually entertaining. Garfield replies, really? Hey, where can we get some of those? What if I want to change or report John's was? Now, if you notice, John here is talking to Garfield. Therefore, actually, there are two ways expressing or reporting his words. The first way is to use the verb say or said, and the second way is using the verb tell or told. Now, why are we highlighting this? Because there is this slight difference between the use of say and the use of tell in reporting the sentence. Look at the first sentence. John said that some pets were, again, we changed the original tense. It was are, and in the reported tense becomes were, actually entertaining. Now this is when using said, we go immediately for the reported sentence. But what if I want to use the reporting verb tell? John told. As we all know, when we use the verb tell, we should have an object, someone to be told, someone to tell the idea. Therefore, if you use the reporting verb tell or told, then actually you should use an object, a noun or a pronoun referring to the other person listening, referring to the other person being told. And in this case, it is Garfield. So the sentence becomes John told Garfield, and we go on with the same changes we have already made in the first sentence, that some pets were actually entertaining. To conclude, there is this slight difference between say and tell. When we use tell, we actually need the object. Me, he told me, or he told you, or he told her, or even give a name. So, but with say, when we use say, we do not have an object, we do not need one actually, so we cannot use it. So this is an important difference that you need to take care of and pay attention to. Let's have another example. This is a teacher talking to uh, his student, telling him, algebra class will be important to you later in life because there's going to be a test 6 weeks from now. This is how sometimes we justify to students why we study math or why we study science or why we study physics. The only answer by the end is you will have an exam later on, so it is important to study it now. Anyway, let's try to report it. I want you to have a minute. Just think of how we can report this sentence. Pay attention to the changes. If we have pronouns, tense changes for regarding the verbs, and time expressions as well. Try to write a sentence or report a sentence, and we'll discuss it in a minute. Okay. I hope that you all have tried to do it. Have a look now at the reported sentence. The sentence says, the teacher said that algebra class. Now the change here appears in the verb will be. Remember, here we have a model will. It should be converted to would. So would be important for. Now you as a pronoun should be changed into, if the teacher's talking to me, then it would be me, will be important for me. If the teacher's talking to someone else, could be a boy, then important for him. If the teacher's talking to a girl, then it would be important for her. So you decide, you are the master of the situation. Later in life, because there in the original sentence it is going to. Now it should be changed into was going to be a text 6 weeks from. In the original sentence, it is now. In the reported sentence, it is changed into them. And here we have a full, correct reported sentence. Now, I'm giving you some sentences and I wanted to change them or report them in a couple of minutes. Here are the sentences. Give yourself a shot and think if you can do it, and I believe you can. Pay attention to the pronouns, pay attention to the tense, pay attention to the time expression. Fine, let's begin with the first sentence. She said, I went to the cinema yesterday. Now let's begin with the following. First, you need to identify the pronouns in the statement. Here the pronoun is I, referring to she. Okay. Then the verb tense, it is went here, therefore the tense is simple past. Then we have a time expression, and that is yesterday. So these are the basic changes we need to care for. So how does the reported sentence or statement go? The sentence becomes, she said that she, instead of I, had gone, because the original tense is went, past simple, it becomes past perfect, to the cinema. Because it was yesterday, it becomes the previous day. So we change the time expression. Let's have a look at the other sentence. Tom said, I'm writing a letter. The tense is a present continuous tense, and the pronoun is I. He's talking about himself. Let's convert it into reported statement. Tom said that we changed the I into he, and the present continuous tense becomes past continuous tense. He was writing a letter. One. Martha said, I'm very tired. Present simple, I am. Martha said that she, because I refers to Martha, she was and becomes was very tired. The present simple becomes past simple. Laura said, my cousins have visited Paris. Now Laura is talking about somebody else, and those are her cousins. Have visited, this is a present perfect tense, and I need to convert it into reported speech. Laura said that the possessive pronoun my becomes her cousins, and they have visited, the present perfect tense becomes past perfect, had visited Paris. Now we here have another group of sentences. Let's give a try. The journalist said, I have been preparing my speech. Have been preparing my speech. So different changes are to be made to this sentence. Let's give a shot. The sentence reported is, the journalist said that I becomes he, referring to the journalist. If it is a man, I mean. Have been, this is a present perfect continuous tense, and as we agreed, present perfect continuous tense changes into past perfect continuous tense, and that is had been preparing. Then we have the possessive pronoun my, it turns into his in order to have this subject pronoun agreement. Well, moving to the other sentence, here we said, the train will leave in 15 minutes. Okay, now we have will leave, and we agreed that the models also are changed. The sentence becomes, Harry said that the train would leave in 15 minutes. The subject is not changed because it doesn't refer to Harry. Here Harry is talking about something else, about the train. So the train remains Here it is. Now, the last sentence, John said, I forgot my suitcase at home last week. I, referring to John, forgot, and this is a past simple tense. My suitcase, my also referring to John, a possessor pronoun. At home, last week, a time expression that also should be changed. The sentence becomes, John said that he, I becomes he, referring to John. Forgot the past simple becomes past perfect, had forgotten. Again, his changes because it refers to John. It's not my anymore. Suitcase at home, and then we have last week becomes the previous week. Now this is reported speech with regard to statements, converting statements or reporting statements. Of course, we have other structure, word structures, and this includes questions. Later, inshallah, at another or at a later time, you will have another lesson about how to report questions. Speaking of WH questions and yes/no questions, and also we need to also go for imperative statements. I mean, giving orders when someone orders someone else to do something. How is it reported? We will come to this inshallah at a later time in another lesson. In a day, in a couple of days, inshallah. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have enjoyed the class and wait for the coming lesson tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you so much.